Well, howdy, everybody. This is John Michael. It is the sixth Sunday of Ordinary Time, and today we hear Luke's version of the Sermon on the Mount, sometimes called the Sermon on the Plain. So what does this tell us? It tells us that, Jesus probably preached this sermon more than once. He probably did it, repeatedly. Repetition is the mother of learning. I know that in my teaching, I often say the same thing in different ways, in different places, in different settings. But it's essentially the same message. Luke's version is tougher externally. Matthew's version is tougher in terms of kind of the poverty of spirit. But here Luke just says the poor, and woe to the rich. Blessed are those who weep, woe to those who laugh now, and so on and so forth. So, two things, some neat lessons. One is, are we open to the repetitive teaching of Jesus, coming to us the same message, but in different settings, in different ways, for different audiences? And are we open to that with our own spiritual teachers? I'm a spiritual teacher in a monastery. I know sometimes they tend to go, oh, there he goes again. But the fact of the matter is that we learn these things by repeating them over and over and over and over again. And it's like rain that kind of begins to, the raindrops settle into the soil. The soil has to be saturated, has to be permeated. And if that happens in one big flash flood, it doesn't do any good. It has to come over and over and over, like a long, good rain that's gentle, and soaks in to the earth of our soul. So are we open to that repetitive teaching? And are we open to the spiritual and the physical dimension of following Jesus? Sometimes we Westerners, we go, well, I'll do it spiritually, but I don't really have to get rid of that nice car. Well, no, you got to do both. You've got to be spiritually poor, and you also have to learn how to be physically poor. You need to learn how to fast from thoughts, from negative speech, but you also have to learn how to fast from too much food, baby. See, we are incarnational. We have a spirit, soul, and body, or a soul and a body. You can't, if you're going to follow Jesus, you can't just do it with your spirit and your soul. He doesn't just want our spirit and our soul, he wants our body too. And Luke's version brings that out. And lastly, it's about paradox. That we find wealth in poverty. That we find fullness when we're hungry. See? That we find joy when we experience sorrow. And so on and so forth. And it goes on. We experience great communion in solitude. We proclaim sometimes the loudest when we say the least. See? So we have to learn how to enter into that paradox. This is the way, the truth, the life of all the great masters, but Jesus does it par excellence in the Paschal mystery on the cross and in the resurrection, brought to us sacramentally at every divine liturgy, at every Mass. So let's be open to these things. The heart of the Sermon on the Mount is the Beatitudes, and the heart of the whole New Testament is the Sermon on the Mount. So today we hear Luke's version of it. Let's be open to the heart of Jesus' teaching. I love you guys. All things are possible with God.